And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Welcome back to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. It's a pleasure to have you in the house. If you have a question about your automobile or any part thereof, I'll be happy to do my best to answer it. Let me give you the number, 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546, and Jan will take your call. I will put you on the air. On the air with us, we have two guests. At the same time, on air, Sammy from Illinois and Chris Haydocy. Chris Haydocy is a dealer principal with regard to, and we're talking about cash for clunkers, and Chris has been there, done that, so he's actually logged in. And how many cars, Chris, have you sold since Monday of last week? That would give you one solid week through the Cash for Clunkers program there at Haydocy, Buick, Pontiac, GMC, and Columbus.
Well, we have submitted 15 to the government for the Cash for Clunkers for the vouchers and reimbursement. And we have 3 out this morning, in which are in the process, hopefully.
So,
Chris, let me ask you a rather pertinent question. How many have you actually been paid for?
Well, that's a very good question. Everyone is in process, and we have not been paid one penny yet. But with that said, when we signed up, it said expect to be paid within 7 to 10 days.
So a government IOU, in other words.
Correct.
And so far, as we know, as the media has reported, the finances for this, or the dollars allotted for it, are already gone, are they not?
Well, what they
by
said,
the government's own admission, yes, they are.
No, that's not. May I interrupt? That is incorrect. There's a $2 billion that was already passed Friday. It will go before the Senate for passage on Monday.
But the point is, Bobby, it has yet to pass. So you're basing this on the stipulation of the what if and maybe of a passage.
Well, where we're at on it is NADA has advised us go cautiously on it. The $1 billion was enough to sell approximately 220,000. They did some math. They said just because of the last week, we could be approaching it, so we want to make sure. There needs to be a little bit more clarity on where we're at very quickly, and I expect to see some Monday morning on saying, yes, there is money left or there is not money left going.
Okay. Sammy, thank you very much for raising those questions, and great, every one of them. And Chris, I want to thank you. I do want to share before I let either of you gentlemen go, and I see that Nancy is calling from Arkansas. We want to take her call, but this is what I have for both of you and for everyone who's tuned in. And this is from a Representative Sander Levin from Royal Oak. And consumers have spoken. This program is hugely successful, and we have to keep up the momentum. Getting consumers back into showrooms is vital to our national economic recovery, as it stimulates the economy and helps the domestic auto industry get back on its feet. And there's more information here, but from everywhere, and yes, there's a certain amount of leap of faith. And Chris, especially for you, you've got 3 deals and 13 or 10 or 12, 15 in the can at $3,000 to $4,000 a piece. So you've got a substantial stake in the game. But I got to believe, giving the, and this leads me back to what we originally, Sammy, you brought up, the Glenn Beck, which was the Cash for Clunkers on Fox yesterday, where they put the screenshots that when you enter the site, you're now entering into a government site. So everything on your, well, it implies that everything on your computer is theirs. But to me, when I go into any site, I always consider that I'm vulnerable anyway, because anywhere you go on the internet, you can be tracked anyway. So it's not like we're all blind. Technology is what it is. You can call. If you have a wreck in your car, the black box tells how fast you were going and at what speed and whether or not you had the seatbelt on. So from a realistic point of view, from a very real point of view, there's a whole lot of Big Brother watching. We know it. It's technology. Some of it could be used against us, maybe, but the bottom line is I would like to keep focus and my belief, and Chris, you can bat me back in my cage, and you as well, Sammy. I see this as an evolution into the step forward to where we get economic recovery, because once we have economic recovery, then it spreads globally, because, like I said on air many times, when we have the flu, the world gets a pneumonia. So,
I mean, food for thought, though. Before we get them into the showrooms, we need to get these people back to work. Shouldn't that be the first line of defense that our government takes? I think they're doing this the wrong way around.
What would you? What then? And I'm because of time constraints and because now you're shifting gears into a whole other realm, and this is more talk about cars than it is jobs, which also then I have to answer that with this. Think about the amount of revenue being generated. This is from Representative Candace Miller, a Republican, Harrison Township. She says it's good for the auto dealers, for the auto manufacturers, for the suppliers, for the workers. It's good for the states. So to me, selling 200,000 cars, and I will tell you this, Chrysler said they had 25 or 26,000 people in the showroom floor. Only one of three was a Cash for Clunkers candidate. That means that the other two were potential car buyers. So what we're doing is creating enthusiasm. Even our conversation as we go, we're creating enthusiasm. Somebody's going to get off the couch and go to a dealership this afternoon and look for a car. Why? Because other people are doing it, and we're a nation of, well, let's don't do anything. And all of a sudden, somebody flips through the coin and takes a strut and takes a step and dares to go through the end of the recession. And the next thing you know, we're no longer in the recession. Am I over optimistic, or Chris? What?
Well, this is designed to prime the pump. They
yes,
did it in Europe,
yes.
And it did well. And it's all chicken and egg, whether add jobs or start. But we have to start someplace. The fact of the matter, from these 15 vehicles that we sold for Cash for Clunkers, that put $30,000 revenue back into the government, in which it's sales tax. So it's a start. It's starting the suppliers. It's starting it start jobs along all the way down. We quite frankly, we're very low on cars, so we are trying to order every car we get. And
wow.
I just looked at the end of the month's numbers, and they were outstanding across the board. So, yeah, this could be just a little bit prime of the pump, letting the people know the sky's not falling, but rather it's a new day, and there's a bright future ahead of us.
Chris Haydocy, owner, Haydocy Buick Pontiac GMC in Columbus, Ohio. And certainly we thank you for your time and for making yourself available this morning. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Sammy.
And Sammy, we thank you for your priming the pump with your questions. I appreciate each and every one of them, and I thank you for tuning in to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Now, to